Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Today we're going to explore gender diversity. What is gender diversity? What are gender quotas? Do they push or pull women in the workplace? Keep listening to find out. First, let's define gender diversity. Gender diversity refers to the fair or equitable representation of genders in the workplace. But why is this something organizations are focusing on? Simply put, gender equality issues exist within organizations, especially in the C-suite and levels of upper management. To gain an idea of the severity of the issue, let's consider these three facts. Only 5% of the CEOs on the Fortune 500 list are women. Men are 2 to 3 times more likely to hold senior management positions than women. And employers tend to lean towards hiring men over women when candidates possess equal qualifications. While these facts may seem shocking to you, organizations have been working to resolve gender equality issues since the 1960s. Initiatives like diversity training, hiring tests, performance ratings, diversity task forces, and mentoring are used to try to tackle the issue. Will these initiatives be enough? Richard Branson doesn't seem to think so. He is quoted as saying, "It's incredible that most boardrooms have 1 or 2 women in their boardroom. I am not sure you can leave it to us men to get the change to get that 50% representation. I think that needs to be forced on us by law." So how can the law be used to increase the number of women present on the boards of organizations? The answer is through gender quotas. What does a gender quota do? Gender quotas accelerate the achievement of gender-balanced participation in an organization. While they can be mandatory, i.e. mandated by the Constitution, electoral, labor, or gender equality laws, they can also be applied on a voluntary basis. Looking at a company's board of directors, they encourage gender diversity by defining a percentage or number of seats to be allocated to women. As of 2014, 10 countries have established mandatory quotas for female representation. These quotas often involve penalties for non-compliance. Countries that have adopted gender quotas include Norway, Spain, Austria, France, Italy, and many others.
However, implementing a gender quota is not without its complications. Gender quotas have clear ethical implications. On the one hand, gender quotas help underrepresented women with equal competence to their male counterparts. On the other hand, in post-quota legislation, women may be named as directors or members of the board even when they are not the most qualified of candidates. So, why then do countries implement gender quotas? Basically, the Gender Quota Diversity Initiative generates the most substantial change to women representation on boards. Now, let's have a look at the impact of a quota. Does it make companies perform better than those that have all male boards? When looking at the financial indicators, the answer is no. Several peer-reviewed studies suggest that companies don't perform any better or worse when they have women on the board. These studies conflict with the commonly held belief that women's differing knowledge, experiences, and leadership style would improve performance. This may be due to the fact that many gender quotas only cause the replacement of one man with a woman, leaving minor opportunity for changes in performance. Furthermore, key players will seldom be removed from the board. However, studies have shown that when larger amounts of women are present in leadership positions, this tends to lead to increases in board governance, disruption of group thinking, and more effective risk management.
Now we would like to come to another question. Can quotas actually work? We would like to highlight a few reasons why they can be feasible. First, when a quota is introduced as a topic of political discussion, it is usually met with resistance. However, when quotas are implemented, the fears people have prior to their implementation are usually not realized. Second, when it comes to the introduction of a quota, men often claim that there is a lack of women in the candidate pool. As the imposition of a quota causes companies to search more creatively and expensively for board members, it automatically leads to a bigger candidate pool. Therefore, pipeline problems should not arise from quotas. Gender biases and stereotypes are deeply rooted in many organizational systems and also in human decision-making processes. Humans tend to form networks with others who are socially similar to themselves. Researchers assume that these biases and behaviors only disappear with an abrupt external shock to the existing system. Therefore, female quotas provide a stringent and structured framework to overcome biases. Of course, there are also some arguments why quotas might not work. Let us take a closer look at a few of these arguments. First, when a quota is implemented, men might be less engaged as they have the feeling that women are treated favorably. The feeling of unfairness can lead to lower employee engagement amongst men. To combat this, employees should be informed about gender equality issues and discrimination. Furthermore, managers should demonstrate enthusiasm towards gender diversity. Second, the gender quota is an extrinsic motivator. A risk with extrinsic rewards is that managers may only focus on working towards rewards, but are not really committed to the task itself. Managers who have already tried to work towards gender diversity before the implementation of a quota might change their focus from an intrinsic to an extrinsic one. Therefore, a quota can supersede intrinsic motivation. Third, the implementation of a quota in Norway showed that there are no or only limited trickle-down effects. This means that higher representation of women in boards did not lead to increased representation of women or smaller wage disparities on lower levels.
We've presented you with a lot of facts about quotas. But was a quota ever implemented successfully? The answer is yes. One example of this is Norway. They succeeded mandating a minimum of 40% women on boards of publicly listed companies. Not only did this increase women's representation, but it also served as a form of inspiration for other countries. While the reform was fairly recent and positive long-term effects cannot yet be observed, researchers have published a few findings from the quota in Norway. Managers indicated that it resulted in an improvement of overall governance and decision-making. When women reached a critical mass, only a few women reported isolation or stigmatization. They felt as though they could make a difference on the board and were not scared of being viewed as a token woman. During the early time of the quota, a golden skirt effect was observable. There were only a few women that held many seats in different companies. For reasons that haven't been determined, this issue resolved itself. Consistent with our earlier findings, the short-term impact on economic performance was negligible. This implies that either the short-term influence of boards is small, or that newly recruited women do not bring along markedly different resources and perspectives compared to the men that they replace. We are now approaching the end of our short lesson about gender quotas and their effect on gender diversity. There is one question we have purposefully left unanswered until now. Our introductory question: does the quota push or pull? In truth, the quota pushes and pulls women. When quotas are first introduced, they push women into board positions. Then, as companies learn to search creatively and the talent pool grows, it shifts to more of a pull. This is especially true when a critical mass is achieved from a quota. Without fears of stigmatization or isolation, women become confident in their ability to influence decision-making. They are attracted to and want to fill these positions. From this, it is clear to see that gender quotas have the potential to empower women to fill leadership positions and hopefully, one day, to create a workforce that is truly gender equal. Thanks for listening, guys. If you have any more questions, now's the time.